In recent years, with rapid advancement of technology, people have become accustomed to having everything they want in a shorter amount of time. I think we would all agree that we all want things that are bigger, faster, better, and stronger. One of the examples of something like that would be like your phones. Everybody wants like the latest phone, fastest phone, 4G, things like that. But also, in addition to that, another thing that we like that's bigger, faster, better, stronger within a short amount of time is for our bodies. And through the use of that, or to get that, people have, there's been in the last couple of decades, the world has witnessed a growing trend in the illegal use of steroids, specifically anabolic androgenic steroids. And today I just want to outline for you the dangers and the effects of illegal steroid use. The National Institute of Drug Abuse defines anabolic as a reference to muscle building. Androgenic refers to increased male sexual characteristics, and steroids refers to the class of drugs. The major problem with the use of illegal anabolic androgenic steroid use is that they cause threatening effects to the brain and the body, and one of those long-term effects might even be death. In the world of professional sports, that's usually where we see the use of illegal steroid use. And just to emphasize on how much of a problem it is, every year, nearly every year, you see multiple players get named who have been fined or suspended for the use of steroids. The problem was so bad that in 2007, 89 professional baseball players were named to have used illegal steroids and other performance-enhancing drugs in the 409-page report known as the Mitchell Report. The use of steroids in professional sports, and collegiate sports, and even high school sports was so extensive that a span of time through from about 1988 to 2007 was deemed the steroid era, which basically a lot of people like to refer to that as just a negative time period where steroids and just massive bodies kind of ruin the game for everybody just because it's viewed as something that's cheap. But the reason why these steroids are banned is not only because it gives players an advantage, but also there's a small sense of looking out for players' health, not only their health, but the health of others because of the damage they can do with the size of their bodies. The users of illegal anabolic androgenic steroids put themselves at risk for physical consequences that include liver tumors, cancer, jaundice, high blood pressure, and increase in cholesterol levels, kidney tumors, fluid retention, and even severe acne. And this is from the U.S. Department of Justice National Drug Intelligence Center. The more commonly known side effects of steroid abuse to men, and I'll get this one out of the way first, is obviously a lot of people joke around about it, and that's the shrinkage of the testicles, reduced sperm count, infertility, baldness, breast development, and increased risk of prostate cancer. And for women, it's almost like the inverse of men. For women, there's the growth of facial hair, male pattern baldness, changes or cessation of the menstrual cycle, and the deepening of the voice. So basically, for men and women, they kind of get the reverse effects. Men start developing things that you would see in women, and women start developing things that you see in men. Deeper voices for women, men get higher voices, they develop breasts. It's not very good. That's just the physical part of it. These problems that are brought on by the anabolic androgenic steroid use can cause long-term problems within the bodies, organs, and even death in some cases. Studies on steroid use typically address their focus mainly on teenage users, just because young bodies that are developing have a higher risk of these sort of problems, just because these bodies aren't fully developed yet. In recent years, the percentage of teenage users of anabolic androgenic steroids has dropped by 1%, 2.5 to 1.5, but before the numbers were increasing annually. Although the declining trend is somewhat comforting, the figures don't seem staggering. I assure you that they are both misleading. Let's crunch the numbers, shall we? The up-to-minute U.S. Census Bureau reports that a population of just over 301 million people, of which the National Center for Education of Statistics estimates 16.5 million, or 5.4% of the public and are public and private school children between 9th grade and 12th grade. Using the CDC's 4% current lifetime user stat, we get an estimated 660,000 students ages 14 to 17 who've admitted to steroid use as of the year 2005. And this is all from steroidabuse.com, who did these surveys to figure out who has been illegally using these drugs. So they basically concluded that it's a really big problem just because of what I've stated, that not only does the use of these drugs affect the adult body, but it has stronger risks for those who, for children or adolescents who are still developing. The major problem with illegal anabolic androgenic steroid use is the harm that these drugs take to the body. In some cases, are more extensive than others. In the short run, yes, you might have a big body that looks good and is fully functioning, but in the long run, you don't really know what the effects can be. Your liver can deteriorate in the future, and even things to your brain. Death is also another factor of this. As an example of this, in 2007, WWE professional wrestler Chris Benoit murdered his wife and 7-year-old son before committing suicide himself. Long-term effects of the brain and due to the extensive use of steroid use and what they believed to be was roid rage at the time have been ruled possible reasons for Benoit's for the reason that he committed those murders. So basically, death, steroid or roid rage, excuse me. That's also another common thing, and people really don't know when you do get roid rage. You don't know what your body's physically capable of doing. In this case, one of them was death, and they believe not only because of his strength or what steroids had done to his body, but also just the deterioration of his brain because of the extensive use. In the end, you might become bigger, better, faster, stronger, but not for long because the steroids will ruin your body. So just think about the short-term effects, short-term run of illegal steroid use should only be used under like prescribed functions from a doctor. And if you have a severe illness, one of them being AIDS, when you're dying from AIDS, your body, your immune system starts shutting down, so your body needs something to get its strength and continue to battle it. So basically, the illegal use of steroid use and acquisition of these drugs will probably ruin your body in the long run. Thank you.
So you just said, pay attention. No, I'm
All right, Omar, I thought that the visualization at the beginning was interesting and the way you transitioned to the topic was excellent. You have a very clear thesis statement. The preview is a little brief, but we know generally where you're headed in the speech, so that's okay. There's a lot of content in the speech, and most of the time I think you explain it pretty well. There were some times when it sounded like you were quoting material, but you're not attributing the quotes, and you want to make sure that if it's your material that you've written and they're your words, that's pretty clear. And one of the ways to do that is to not be reading when you're giving that material. And if you are quoting something, make sure that you give an appropriate attribution. Like the statistics and the stories, I know that you got from someplace, but there were some transition phrases that just sounded like they came right out of an article or a text that somebody had written, and maybe you came up with them, but I'm not sure, and that's one of those things that you want to make sure is clear, that you're not incrementally, borrowing somebody else's language and work and presenting it as your own. If it's your own, that's great. The visual factors in the presentation, you do tend to stand in the one spot, so you look like you're in control, but you also don't look as engaged as you could be. There's not any way that you're bringing the audience closer to you or involving them with your movements there. There are a few gestures. Facial expressions, I think you need to be more animated. Your eye contact, I think you have to read too often and you're looking down too long. When you do look, Gesundheit. When you do look up, I think it's pretty effective, but you're not doing it frequently enough. And like I said, when you're having to read the notes, that's problematic. Interestingly enough, though, you do a nice job when you are reading with your voice. I think if you were quoting something, or if there are passages here that you have to go to and go through, if I'm just listening, it usually sounds pretty good because there's some variety and inflection. You're not just reading words on the page. You sound like you understand what you were talking about and that you want to be talking about that, and you're engaged in it just with the tone of your voice, so I like that. All right, thank you.